compared to the beta release, Multiversus' finished game feels bad. Like, the gameplay is noticeably clunkier, and it feels less responsive than the beta, as well as a lot of features from the beta now being removed from the final release. Like, for example, you could switch the side attacks and neutral attacks bindings in the beta, but you can't do that in the finished version of the game. And there were perks that you could use for characters that are now gone in the final release. So yeah, they did rebuild the combat and gameplay and stuff from the ground up, but it just feels like it made it clunky. Now, clearly this was inspired by Smash Bros. And was supposed to be similar to it, but wow. When compared to Smash Bros., this game is an absolute slog fest. And when I try to play it like how I play Smash Bros., it really just feels broken. Now, as for the beta wasn't perfect. It did have some issues and bugs here and there. But of course, it was a beta. But the beta release being better than the final release is just awful. The beta's gameplay was smoother and more responsive than the final release. Though it didn't have much single-player game modes, the gameplay was more enjoyable. Here in this match, you could kind of see me struggling with the gameplay, because I tried playing it like how I played it with the beta, because the beta's gameplay was smoother, and yet I'm just wondering why the gameplay was changed to be like this instead. And the networking isn't all that good either, because one time I played a match of 2 versus 2, and the player on my team immediately got disconnected the moment the match started, which says a lot about the network issues with this game. Not only was the beta's gameplay smoother, but it also had a attack decay feature, so spamming an attack would make it weaker, and now that's been removed from the final version. The beta had so many good things that the final release just got rid of, and that's bad. And yes, the beta did have some balancing issues here and there, but they could have been fixed. Rebuilding the game to have clunkier gameplay and less features than the beta was very, very bad. It was very mishandled. Now, they can fix most of these issues through patches and such. Another issue with this game is the grind it takes to get other characters. It is very tedious, and you can't even practice with the characters unless you unlock them. The game only gives you a few challenges ever so often to gain new characters, rather than having a consistent character system. And it would seem that the beta had better networking than the final version. And now there are more players who are talking about how they have more networking issues as opposed to the beta version. It's just weird to me that the multiplayer in the beta was better than the final version. Like, shouldn't it have been the other way around? And from what I've read from other players, characters are also locked in local play, so yeah, that sucks. I don't think it's gonna get any better because the developers made it a tedious grind to get characters, or they just have to straight up be bought. And the game having multiple currencies, like similar to that of a pay-to-win mobile game. The developers basically just shit on the game. The beta version of this game seemed like a Smash-like title with potential, and now the final release is just, it feels like a pay-to-win game, like Brawlhalla. Smash Bros. Brawl used to be one of my childhood games, and then I would play a little bit of Melee and a lot of Ultimate. And comparing those games to Multiversus, which obviously took inspiration from Smash, I could say that just about all of them are better than Multiversus in just about every aspect. In Smash games, you can block attacks. In Multiversus, you can't block, you can only do the little dodges. And in Smash Bros, When attacking in a neutral position, your character will do the combo attacks. And then attacking while holding a stick in a side position will make the character do the smash attack or side attack. Again, in Multiversus, they switched that. I mean, if you're just pressing the attack button, your character will do the smash attack, and characters will only do the combo hits if you're pressing in a direction, which again just adds a whole layer of clunkiness. Multiversus was just made to capitalize off the success of Smash Bros. With its horrible monetization. This game could have been great if the developers hadn't gotten greedy and started using bad monetization. It was promising in the beta, and then they just destroyed it in the final version. With it feeling more buggy and unstable than the beta, as it's freezing, crashing, and players getting disconnected as soon as matches begin. Hopefully they'll change it for the better with patches, because again, this game can be great if the developers just patch up the majority of these problems, but I wouldn't get my hopes up. I think it's just going to become more and more like Brawlhalla, a game that was just made to capitalize off the success of Smash Bros, and then you'd have to pay for new characters rather than cosmetic changes. It doesn't seem so good from here. Needless to say, I had more fun playing the beta than I did with the final version. And that's it for another game that was promising in its early release but flopped on its final release.